4 years ago, I remember sitting in my middle school computer lab, watching the clock tick by and waiting for class to begin. Being the punctual teacher that she was, my teacher would walk into the classroom at 8:30 a.m. sharp and tell the class to go onto kidstype.com to prepare ourselves for the typing assessment. My teacher would often examine our skills closely, meaning that as I would type, her eyes would be pinned onto my fingers like a hawk pinning its prey. She was very keen on pointing out many, if not all, of my errors, and it just so happened that one observation was about the size of my pinky, which she then blatantly told me to stretch out every day for at least 5 minutes. Research from a 2010 PubMed study shows that the average size of a human pinky is 5.6 centimeters. Now, being below average is not usually my style, but the size of my pinky proves otherwise. On this slide, there is a normal size pinky, and beside it is a pinky that measures exactly 5 centimeters. That abnormal pinky is actually mine, which is 0.6 centimeters less than average. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jessie Lee, and tonight I have a question for everyone to ponder. Why do we, as a society, constantly strive for perfection without fully understanding it? Achieving perfection is a result of being flawless, but many fail to understand that perfection is an old myth that creates more pain than joy and more confusion than calm. The concept of perfectionism is profoundly woven into the fabric of our competitive culture's plethora of messages. We're inclined to believe that doing more, becoming perfect, will make us feel less uncertain, fearful, insecure, anxious, and depressed. My difference of 0.6 centimeters is why I'm not a perfect human being. It was one of the reasons why I would envy others instead of striving to embrace who I was. The number 0.6 is unique and surprisingly used widely across our world today. For starters, the world's tiniest fish, the stout infant fish, measures 0.6 centimeters long. On a larger scale, a giant squid's mouth can measure an anticlimactic amount of 0.6 basketballs. Lastly, aardvarks, they're known to dig up termites and ants at a rate of 0.6 meters per 15 seconds. However, 0.6 doesn't only need to be represented by decimals and animal facts. It can also be looked at as 60%. Which, according to the Canadian Women's Foundation, is the same percentage of young girls who view celebrities as their primary role models. There's often a desire that we feel to change ourselves to fit into society's image of perfection. As more generations of girls grow up with advancements in technology and more access to pop culture, girls face added pressures from these influences and detract from their self-esteem due to these unrealistic images being placed forth by these fake people on social media. The jump from a small number like 0.6 to 60% demonstrates how a small number can have a significant impact. My difference was as small as the world's tiniest fish, yet I still suffered greatly from bundled up emotions of insecurities and a desire to change myself to fit into society's image of perfection. It was like a dazzling light had put me into a trance, luring me through a never-ending tunnel. The more I chased this light, the more self-doubt I felt. Sure, I didn't exactly have the right measurements to be a hand model or play the piano or even type properly. Well, there were many activities that my pinky limited me from, but instead of focusing on what I couldn't do, I decided to focus on finding other passions that define the person who I aspired to be. My friend once told me that sitting on the floor grounds you because you're connecting to your roots. I'm not going to get philosophical about the floor, but I do feel that it is important to authentically find yourself by embodying your own passions, unique attributes, and most importantly, sense of self. The golden standard that is set in society today is often what forces us to forget the beauty that lies between perfection and failure. This myopic standard is bound to disappoint as we are often colorblind and striving for results purely black and white. Living with more color creates a more vivid world and a textured humanness that is so much more authentic than rigid societal expectations. As a competitive athlete, amateur baker, and artist, there is often a belief that everything I do has to be perfected and precise, leaving no room for mistakes. One wrong move would be a point for the opponent's team. Incorrect measurements would result in a disproportionate baked result, and one wrong stroke would lead to an imperfect drawing. There was just so much room for error in all of these activities, but those differences and sometimes disappointing results were all errors that made me whole. The unfortunate truth was that I couldn't be perfect in everything that I did. Loosening the rooted beliefs of perfectionism is what allowed me to regain consciousness of my self-esteem and groundedness, and most importantly, sense of self. I now challenge everyone in the audience tonight, whether you are in person or online, I challenge you to reflect on your own differences. Take action in changing this polarizing myth of perfection. Find beauty in not being perfect. I dare you to step into your own humanity and go out of your comfort zone to walk away from self-doubt. Participate in this revolutionary act of embracing who you are and become a role model for future generations. End the stigma of unconsciously hoping to embody perfection. Thank you.